Welcome to the Wisdom for Wealth for Life podcast. Let's bridge the gap between your faith and your finances. At Ronald Blue Trust, we apply biblical wisdom and technical expertise to help you make wise financial decisions. Our goal is to help you leave a lasting legacy. In this podcast, you will hear inspiring stories, practical tips, and encouragement from the Ronald Blue Trust family, with special guests along the way. Welcome to the Wisdom for Wealth for Life podcast. The information in these podcasts is provided for general educational purposes only. It is not intended as specific individual advice. The client's experience may not be representative of the experience of other clients, and they are also not indicative of future performance or success. Opinions expressed may not be those of Ronald Blue Trust. In this episode, we have Dr. Michael Patterson, the founder of Be a Peacemaker, a nonprofit organization committed to developing peacemakers in society, with Nick Stonestreet, CEO of Ronald Blue Trust. Today, they have an in-depth conversation with B.E.S.T Academy Principal, Dr. Timothy D. Jones, and Assistant Principal, Shannon Williams. In this discussion, they talk about the importance of mentorship. Let's listen in now.
I am Dr. Michael Patterson, and I have my co-host here, Nicholas Stonestreet. How you doing, Nick?
I'm good, Mike. It's good to be back with you.
It's been good. We've been having some incredible conversations.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that we talk about is the quality of your life depends on the quality of your relationships. And so my life's enriched by our relationship.
Well, I thank you so much.
I thought that'd be a good way to start.
I feel the same way, my brother. It's good to have friends. We have another opportunity to go deeper into a conversation that many of our listening audience can not only just hear, but implement, can imitate. I believe that the more we can implement what we learn, we can make a difference in this society. And today we're talking about why mentor? Why mentor? Mentoring at its core guarantees young people that there is someone who cares about them, assures them that they're not alone in dealing with day-to-day challenges, and makes them feel like they matter. Research confirms that quality mentoring relationships have powerful positive effects on young people in a variety of personal, academic, and professional situations. Ultimately, mentoring connects a young person to personal growth and development and social and economic opportunity. Yet 1 in 3 young people will grow up without this critical asset. And today we have a good friend of mine, a brother I've known for decades, Dr. Timothy Jones, principal of the B.E.S.T Academy down in Atlanta, Georgia. And also we have his assistant principal, Mr. Shannon Williams. So we want to thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. And we want to jump into this conversation about mentoring. So, Brother Tim?
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. And thank you for your lifelong friendship. You, in many ways, have been a mentor to me and for me. So I appreciate you in my life.
And I appreciate you in my life because as I was going through my graduate program, if you ever want to work on an advanced degree, have Dr. Timothy Jones in your life. I almost jumped out the window a couple of times. Pulled me back from the edge, but I do appreciate that friendship. Yeah, I met Brother Tim. You were 17?
Yeah, Florida State.
Florida State, 17-year-old freshman. And
absolutely.
In every sense of the word. Well, this is a faith-based audience. I've met him, brothers and sisters, doing something what we call door knocking. So I was a young Christian. I was knocking on doors in dorms, and I got an opportunity to meet this young dude from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Timothy Jones.
Yeah. That knock went unanswered for a while, didn't it?
Well, we don't have to go into all the details about that. You're here now.
Absolutely.
But like I said, let's talk about how mentoring has impacted your personal lives. You know, I think you and Nick could have a great conversation about this because I believe you are very in tune with the importance of being mentored and mentoring young adults.
Yeah, so, you know, for me is really trying to find a mentor. I think that's a frustration that young people can feel. It's like, who do I look up to? And it wasn't until I got to college that I found somebody that was a great mentor, somebody I really looked up to, somebody that I just felt like I wanted to imitate and could really learn from. And that, every his birthday is March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, and I still call him and I write him a note of gratitude every year, and talk to him a couple of times during the year, but especially on his birthday. I just always remember him taking the time, because I'd never really grown up, with a lot of positive mentoring experiences, and just fortunate to have someone that cared enough about me to reach back, and it made all the difference in the world. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've been really fortunate to have a litany of mentors in my life, starting from an early age. I didn't realize at that time what they were. Mm-hmm. I knew that they cared about me and they believed in me, but I didn't understand why, because I didn't have that degree of self-belief when I was young. But I tell you that you cannot have great people in your life that mentor you and sort of put you on a pathway to success without being compelled to do the same for others. And so because they were so significant in my life, I would hope that I could be as significant in the lives of others.
Excellent. Yeah. So, Brother Williams?
I was really just sitting here listening to you guys, and I was thinking to myself, wow, who represented that mentor that, you guys you're speaking about so passionately. And I was thinking about, well, my father, of course, was an outstanding father figure, but I can remember the piece of my life when my father passed away and being a little lost for a while. And I had the opportunity to work at the district office for Atlanta Public Schools, and I worked as a leadership coordinator. And I can remember Dr. Jones being one of the men that always said, hey, come talk to my staff. And he gave me that piece of like, hey, what I was doing really meant something. And as he and I continued to get to know each other, he doesn't know, but he took on the place of that mentor for me. And I would just go in his office and he would always give me some words of advice. And I more so looked at the way he lived his life, and the things that he said and the things that he did and the way he treated people. And I said to myself, wow, that's a guy that if I had the opportunity, I would really love for him to be my mentor, but I never knew how to ask him. And it just so happened that when the position of assistant principal became available at his school, he reached out, we talked about it, and I said, wow, look at all of this coming into fruition. And I end up being his assistant principal, and he's my de facto mentor. So we're having a celebration right now because this is the first time he's hearing this, that he has been my mentor, and he didn't even know it, but it's the way he carries himself and the way that he projects every day in the building that says to me and to my spirit, that's someone that I just love taking advice from and listening to.
Wow.
That's great.
Wow.
Thank you for sharing.
What an honor. Thank you so much.
Well, Shannon, you and Tim, can you talk a little bit about B.E.S.T and about the kids at B.E.S.T Academy and kind of sort of their backgrounds and where they're coming from and where you can help, where mentoring enters into their lives?
Definitely. One thing that Dr. Jones talked to me about entering into this position at the 30318 represents, one of the poorest areas in the state, and I'm talking about just economically, educationally, highest rate of crime, high age rate, teen pregnancy. So we have a bunch of things, dropouts, a bunch of things that.
And what about fatherless households?
69% of our young men at the school currently go home every day to homes without fathers.
69%. Wow.
So when you start putting that together, and I do a lot of research on leadership and just things that could help, as far as, and one of the things that I recently was looking at, I don't know if it was Elon Musk, I don't want to give him credit if it wasn't him, but it was going down that path. And he talked about what does it take to have a paradigm shift? And two things come into place. One, genetically, the other is environmentally. So genetically, if we're talking about having a paradigm shift with our young men, and genetically, and the fathers are not in the house, that's not going to happen. And then the second is environmentally, and we're talking about having a paradigm shift with our young men. But I talk to a lot of boys every day, and every day we talk, Dr. Jones spews this to us in our spirit every day, that we teach our boys to be the gift. So every day we're teaching them how to wrap their gift box, because the whole point of being a gift is to give it to what? Somebody else. Right. So we're trying to teach our kids how to be a gift, but environmentally, a lot of times when they go home, instead of them getting that extra boost on how to be this gift, their gift box is unwrapped. So every day we have to start over with this process of teaching our boys how to be the gift. So when we start talking about mentorship and why and how, and one of the things you'll hear me say a lot is connecting the what to the why. When you start talking about mentorship, how important it is for these young men in our community, in the B.E.S.T community, to have people that generally care about them, that can explain the what and the whys, and that can explain to them these are things that young men are supposed to be, trying to do, aspiring to do. It gives them a different mindset. And what we are talking about, if we're going to have a paradigm shift, it has to be looked at in that way, that mentorship has to take the place, one, of the genetically father that's not in the house, or two, the environment that is not conducive to producing productive people in society.
Wow. Thank you for sharing.
Exactly.
Before we move on, I think it'd be good for our audience to know a little bit more about B.E.S.T Academy.
Yeah, B.E.S.T is a 612 single gender school in Atlanta. We are currently serving about 300 African American and Latino boys. We have a litany of innovative initiatives, but we predicate the relationships at our school on the foundation of the best experience over a sustained amount of time. Mm-hmm. The longer we have these young men with us, the more impactful we can be in their lives.
Well, I personally want to thank you, gentlemen, for your hard work. Education is not easy. You guys have taken on the role of not only teacher, leader, surrogate father, uncle, big brother, big cousin, many pastors. There's so many facets to what you do. And I know you and I have talked extensively about partnerships.
Yeah.
That there is a role for wraparound services, outside individuals to come in and meet you and the students and offer what we can. So can you talk a little bit about?
Yeah, we both will actually, because we're always trying to find resources for our students, because it's bigger than us, and it takes a village, but it takes a functional village in order to raise a kid. And so some of the things that we do is we have partnerships with people like Chris 180, the Path Church. We're moving to something that Shannon's going to talk about a little bit in terms of wraparound services. Our community has so many needs, but we're finding that there are resources out there that we haven't tapped into. And I just feel like it's our job to search and to find the opportunities that match the need. And I think that most leaders, this is a noble profession, right?
Absolutely.
Most leaders have that mindset, but they don't necessarily have the opportunities nor the knowledge to go find it. And so we're specializing in finding what we need.
Tim, you mentioned Ronald Blue Trust, and so we want to start with our mentoring program. So we'll be kicking that off in a few weeks.
Yes.
And what makes a really good mentor? Shannon, you and Dr. Jones, what do you all see? How could our people really impact the kids, and what makes a good mentor?
That's a great question, and that's a question that millions of people, and just not kids, because like I stated when I first sat down, as a 46-year-old man, I needed a mentor.
Right.
And I think anybody that's trying to move and elevate and make themselves better need a mentor. So when we start answering that question, what makes a good mentor, I think the biggest thing is a person that's willing to invest into a person, and it's not about all of the different things that's going on. It's not about trying to get an ad in a newspaper. It's about, I really want to invest in this kid, and I want to invest in this kid or this grown man,
right?
And I want to see him grow. And I'm willing to do what it takes to make sure that they are given opportunities that otherwise wouldn't be presented there. And it doesn't make a difference because the bottom line is I want to leave this person better than what I found them.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. I think it's the desire to be relevant in a kid's life. And what I mean by that, you know, I have mentors in my life now. I have a mentor for my marriage. I have a mentor for my finances. I have a spiritual mentor. So I have a lot of different needs, right? So I think the same person is not, you know, able to do all of that for me. So relevancy is huge, and the desire to seeking first to understand what a child needs, and then being relevant in that aspect of their need is important. And that's the first step, because that builds the relationship, because they see in you an opportunity to grow. And I think a mentor's first inclination is a deep desire to see you at your fullest potential in whatever area of mentorship you need. And knowing that area is huge. And then I think beyond the relationship becomes this reality of we're here now, and what do we do next? You know, a lot of people just don't know, right? And so a real mentorship is, hey, I'm going to check in on you. That's the beginning. I'm going to, you know, connect with you on a regular basis. I'm going to find out more about you. I'm going to remember important dates in your life, and I'm going to be here and available. You know, that's sort of the start of a good mentor relationship. But then
excuse me. So you're saying a mentoring relationship can turn into a lifelong friendship?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Now I don't know that all adults want to call kids friends, but I do know that the relationship will be predicated on a foundation of respect, and it moves to admiration, and then it moves to a lifelong commitment to pour into each other's lives later. And that's been my experience with good mentors, that certainly I saw initially as a mentor that I was doing something quintessentially different and needed in a person's life. However, what I found was they were actually doing more for me than I thought I was doing for them.
So this is a higher calling. It's not just showing up once a month to read a story to a kid. You're talking about.
Well, I mean, I think there are places for that.
Okay.
But I don't know that that's true mentorship. You know, a mentorship seeks to first understand, and then the mentorship seeks to create this impetus to make a person better through a lived experience.
Yeah, it's interesting, Tim and Shannon, just there's different inflection points in people's lives, and you never know if you're hitting that point of where a kid's going to go one way or another way. Through your experience with the kids at B.E.S.T, do you have any stories of kids where you kind of hit that inflection point at the right time and their life changed?
Yeah, even in the brief time that I've been there. Because one of the things, and Dr. Jones does impress us, and it's amazing that he's sitting there saying it, we haven't had this conversation. So one of the big things that I always try to listen with is an ear for perspective. And when I have conversations with young men, I want to know what they're thinking. And I want to give them that avenue to tell me what they are thinking and why they did what they did and how we can, work to make this a little better or try. One of the big things I talk to my kids, and I'll get to the story, is about E plus R equals O. And when they get into my office, I'm an old economics teacher, so I go E plus R equals O. They like, Mr. Williams, what do you mean? Event plus the response to the event equals outcome. Now, a lot of times, son, we can't change the event. The pandemic happened. Mm-hmm. We can't change that. But what we can change is how we respond. And that's what really gets our kids in a lot of trouble is the initial response that they have. But remember, go back to paradigm shift, genetics and environment. They respond a lot of times because they become CD-ROMs and they play whatever has been downloaded by mom, dad, or the environment. So what I'm really trying to impress upon our kids at B.E.S.T is, look, we gotta have different response if we want a different outcome. If your outcome has been the same and you're getting negative things happening to you, it's because you're responding to the event negatively. So they're starting to listen. And I see guys now in the hallway from just 2 months I've been there, and they'll point at me and say, I'm responding differently. I'm responding differently. So, you know, that's the story in itself, not one particular, but you're starting to make an effect on kids because you're cognitively priming them to think differently.
Well, I do have a story.
Okay, I bet you got a lot of them.
Yeah, well, I have one that I want to share because the person who was most important and the most significant person in this child's life is sitting to my right. And so I had a student, and it was really interesting that I would always tell him, hey, man, you need to be a wrestler. You're so strong, right? And he picked one of our staff members up, and he put him down forcefully, but he didn't do it in a malicious way. He was just playing, trying to show that he could wrestle. And the guy was like, hey, I don't want to wrestle, right? And so that's how I got into my office, and that was my first meeting. And so I realized a couple of things. He was just in need of someone to say, hey, I see you. He just needed some recognition that he existed. Unfortunately, the man of the house at 13, 14 years old, his mom had several children, and he was the oldest or second
oldest of about like 7 siblings behind him.
Right. And so he would often, feed the babies and, change the babies and, all of this stuff. And even when his mom was pregnant, he was carrying his mom up the stairs, because he felt he was the provider. And no one said, hey, man, you don't have to do all of that. That's not your role, right? You're a good big brother, but you're not a daddy. You can't be a father to all your brothers and sisters. And finally, I had a breakthrough in talking to him. And he said, I don't want to do all of this, but I have to. And I said, man, do you have someone that you can talk to on a regular basis? He said, no, but I need it. And I said, I got just the person. And Michael comes through my office doors, and I said, Mike, I was just talking about you. And Dr. Patterson sat down, and they must have had an hour-long conversation. And that was the beginning of the most extraordinary experience. He changed the course of this child's life. He was just going to graduate, hopefully, and maybe work in an electronics shop because he loved to tinker. He was a device guru. He could do anything.
Oh, yeah.
And so smart kid, not necessarily academically, but he had all of these skills that he had acquired over time. So he was a jack of all trades. And so Michael inspired him to study hard, to commit or recommit himself to achieving some goals, to graduating. And then, would you like to tell the rest, sir?
We weren't allowed to make excuses growing up. And I'm like, I don't feel sorry for you, brother. You just got to do what you need to do. He came to church, which was cool because we're meeting at the school at the time. Saw all these married guys, young guys doing things with their lives. And it wasn't just me. The brothers grafted him in and started being his friends and picking him up and spending time with him. And it took a combined effort of the church, the school, Dr. Jones, to get across that stage of graduation. He missed the spring graduation, and we went to the summer graduation, and we celebrated. But now he's in the Marines.
Yeah, and married.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's doing so well.
Wow. That's great to hear a success story. So,
Yeah.
What I'd love is 1 year from now for us to come back together and talk about the kids that we've been able to impact from Ronald Blue Trust doing our mentoring program with you all. So already starting to dream about that.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much. Definitely enjoyed all the insight into mentoring. And again, thank you for what you do in public education.
Yeah.
And you guys worked really, really hard during the pandemic. Hopefully you will realize you will be rewarded.
That's right.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Thanks for what you're doing for the kids. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Definitely. And we're looking forward to what we're going to have here, Ron Blue and the different individuals who are going to step up and build these relationships. So,
Yep.
thank you,
We're
Nick.
ready. Thanks.
It's going to be phenomenal.
It's going to be great. Well, we will see you at the next episode. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wisdom for Wealth for Life podcast. If you are looking for financial advice, please contact us. Please visit ronblue.com. That's ronblue.com. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to wherever you listen to your podcasts. Ronald Blue Trust is a trademark used by Thrivent Trust Company, a federal savings association, and Thrivent Trust Company of Tennessee, Incorporated, a Tennessee Public Trust Company, separate affiliated entities. Trust and investment management accounts and services offered by Ronald Blue Trust are not insured by the FDIC or any other federal government agency, are not deposits or other obligation of, nor guaranteed by any bank or bank affiliate, and are subject to invest risk, including possible loss of the principal amount invested.